Hey everybody, what's up? So welcome to the channel. Welcome to another brand new video. So yesterday the Fed did us a big favor and lowered rates by a quarter. For anybody that has debts or debt or anything like that, it is a major blessing for us that anybody that has any outstanding loans or credit card debt, even your house, uh, personal loans, anything like that, student loans, and you maybe it's a blessing to us as well as also even in the future there's going to be two or three Fed cuts, maybe one next year, but it could be two or three. And so 2026 is looking good for any of us to make a plan, which I'm going to do, to get out of credit card debt and to say forget the banks and debts and everything like that. That's what 2026 will be for me, just to get out of personal debt, even house debt, anything like that. Just try to make a plan and tackle that. And I think that's a great plan. I think while the rates are dropping, may as well, you're not going to get much from savings anymore. So may as well, if you have debt or anything like that, student loan or anything like that, now's the time to like get rid of that debt. You may even I'm even considering, like personal loan to move consolidate everything into that, get a lower personal loan and then just pay it off. So while we're in an easing environment and the Fed is dovish, may as well just make that a plan to focus on getting out of debt. So that way you'll have more money to invest in stocks and crypto, real estate, anything like that. It's going to boost your credit score. The less debt you have, they see that you're an excellent borrower. They respect you as far as borrowing and all that stuff. And then that way you could build up your credit and then get some real estate property and stuff like that. But when you have a bunch of debt hanging over your head, your rates are going to be higher, your credit score is going to drop, and then yeah, it's going to be a bad cycle. You don't want that to keep happening. So for me, I might be looking at like personal loan and stuff like that just to consolidate everything, or even equity line of credit, just get rid of it. But it's a good time since rates are falling, I think it's a great time to look at what you did, as far as your debt, anything like that. We've all made mistakes in the past and maybe built up some credit. I've done that before, and it's time to just and done it again. And it's time to use that easing cycle. I think it's just to focus on getting rid of your debt, paying off your loans while the rates are dropping, and just get rid of them. So like some people like myself, you have that zero rate, maybe you got that introductory loan rate and maybe that's coming due next year. A lot of us have, and now's the time to, before that rate jumps up, switch it over to a lower rate, refinance it there. And some of these credit cards, I think you even have one that's 29%. It's just ridiculous. And just shop around for a better rate, since we're going to have the Fed's going to be on our side, the end of this year, and then next year, 2020, they were finally dropping rates since they got inflation out of control, so under control. And so I really think now is the time to really focus on yourself, getting your finances fixed next year. That involves, paying down your credit card debt and refinancing for better loans, since the rates are going to be dropping. Now is the perfect time to get a lower rate. I mean, if you have a 0% rate, I think maybe you could wait a little bit while the Fed keeps lowering the rates, and then refinance or go into a personal loan if you want just one payment and get that out of the way. But it's a good time. Maybe pick up a second job just to pay down that debt. But I think it's a blessing in disguise as far as what the Fed's doing, finally going into a lower rate environment. Plus, the Trump administration wants a 0%, you know, rate, environment, zero rate environment. So it's even a better time, even if that happens, to, just work on tackling the debt instead of building it up when the rates are low. When basically instead of saving, you can build up savings as well, but if your savings rate's going to drop and you're not going to get much out of savings and you have debt, maybe it is better just to throw it at the debt and just get rid of that debt. And that's just my opinion. Not a financial advisor like that. It's just my personal opinion on the matter. And just, when you have good credit, and then when you have less debt, you sleep better, and then also helps you be able to have that cash so you can put that in investments and stocks and all that stuff. And it is good, like if you have some margin debt, it is good that they're dropping the rates so your margin interest will drop as well. So I don't know how many rate drops they have, or if the administration in 2026 wants to bring it down to zero. Of course, it's not going to drop your margin loan to zero, rate to zero, but it's going to bring things down each time they drop that rate. So it is a blessing in disguise with the lower rate environment is good for the debt market and credit, and that way you can save for the future and pay down your debts. And overall, that's a good thing for your financial health. So let's see what happened next year. Next year, with what's going to happen with the Fed. They're talking about the labor market concerns and all that. I understand that, but overall, it's a good thing for people that have any debts out there, that they can refinance into a lower rate and really focus on getting out of stop being a slave to the banks. I think that's a plus more than a negative. You don't want to be beholden to the banks for your whole life and just be a slave for them and then just constantly paying them interest, making them richer. That's how all these banks get rich, just because they're charging this 29% rate on some of these credit cards. And even if you look at like what you should be paying interest rate, excellent credit, they're saying 11 to 14% APR, good credit, 14% to 70% APR, fair credit, 17 to 22% APR, and bad credit can exceed 21% or higher. But sometimes you can even have excellent credit and they're still trying to rip you off with these high rates, unless you shop around, or unless you don't use that card and use something else that has a lower rate. But they're always just trying to kind of, it's almost scamming you out of money, just to loan sharking their way to get as much money out of you as possible. It's sad that that's the way it is, but and of course it is, if you don't have any collateral, of course, these credit cards, most 99% are no collateral, unless it's a different type of card. You have bad credit, you need to put some money down, like a secured card. But that really doesn't give you any options to even. They usually give you like a $2,000 or $1,000 credit limit. It's really nothing. Like you have to match a 50-50 when you have bad credit. And there's other ways, like if you do have bad credit and you defaulted on some of those loans, you can negotiate that and to pay that down even after you defaulted. You just got to work with your creditors, and then slowly you have to build your credit back up. I've done that before. And a lot of there's some companies out there you can look for that have ways where you could just have a small card and then you just pay them, you know, to get back paying, like you pay off on time, this and that. So that way you can build your credit. There's a bunch of companies out there that offer that way. So like you buy a CD and then you pay down that CD and then they give the interest back from the CD and they pay it, then you get the CD back. There's a bunch of different. But if you try to, just to hire somebody, one of these lawyer companies out there to try to send letters to get your debt off the books, it's never going to happen. Don't recommend that. And I think I did it once, but I'll never do that again. But overall, now's the time to pay off your debt since the rates are dropping and it's going to be easing environment. So let's all do it. So that's what I'm going to do in 2026 and stop being a slave to the banks and to the man out there with credit card debt and debt itself. Cash is king, as they say, and debt is queen. You don't want to be a slave forever for the rest of your life to the man and credit out there, which I don't plan on being a slave to anybody, and nobody should be, have a bank as your master. But let's do it and let's make it happen as soon as we can, as soon as possible.